countdown to war. Saddam and his sons reject the U.S. ultimatum to give up and get out. The march to war steps up. War of words, a nasty fight between the White House and top Democrats, charges of disloyalty on the eve of combat. War on terror. With the nation now on orange alert, NBC News learns of new evidence that a key U.S. ally may still be bankrolling Osama bin Laden. And the home front, 7 fathers and 7 sons going off together to serve the country.
Target Iraq. This is a special edition of NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Saddam and his sons say they will not leave Iraq. American forces on the Iraqi border are on short notice to move out in what now has been officially labeled Operation Iraqi Freedom. In the United States, the terror alert is at orange. That's high, and the government security measures go well beyond earlier levels. President Bush is getting early support from the American people for his countdown to war, but today, the leaders of China and Russia told him once more that he was on the wrong course. Again tonight, we're covering all of the fronts. We'll begin with NBC's Jim Miklaszewski, who's at the Pentagon for us now. Jim?
Tom, more than 250,000 U.S. military forces are poised to attack Iraq. But tonight, small groups of American commandos already have the Iraqi military in their sights. In the dead of night in the Kuwaiti desert, U.S. Marines move ever closer to the Iraqi border and war. But for American special forces, the war has already begun. Military sources tell NBC News special operations troops are inside Iraq tonight, scouting potential targets, gathering intelligence, prepping the battlefield for a U.S. invasion.
That set of human eyes is the best possible device that you can have for looking at, scoping at enemy targets.
Sources also tell NBC News CIA operatives working with Iraqi exiles are preparing to sabotage Iraqi military installations. Operations so sensitive and deep inside Iraq, the CIA and U.S. military are in constant contact to make sure American warplanes don't bomb the CIA operatives by mistake. At the same time, Pentagon reports Saddam Hussein is preparing to launch deadly attacks with chemical weapons against U.S. troops. Intelligence reports indicate artillery shells with chemical warheads are being handed out to Republican Guard troops at Al-Qud, and that Saddam could be preparing to coat bridges and roadways with a lethal slime of VX nerve agent to slow down American troops on their advance to Baghdad.
You'll have large area of highways, particularly around bridges that may be blown, that are literally slimed with VX.
U.S. intelligence also estimates Saddam has up to 50 unmanned drones that could attack U.S. troops with chemical weapons from the air. Drones so small they're hard to detect and can be launched from the backs of trucks. The U.S. is engaged in an aggressive campaign to convince Iraqi troops not to use chemical weapons and to surrender at the first signs of war. Using leaflets and radio broadcasts, Iraqi troops are being urged to lay down their weapons, abandon military vehicles, simply give up and go home. Defense intelligence officials are also placing direct telephone calls to senior Iraqi military leaders, trying to convince them to take down Saddam Hussein before the start of a war. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC. Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon tonight. In Baghdad, Saddam Hussein's eldest son, Uday, was the one who today rejected President Bush's ultimatum of last night that the family must leave Iraq or else. And as John Irvine of ITN News reports tonight, Saddam now has gone into battle dress as his capital city prepares for more war than it has ever witnessed.
He hasn't been seen out in public for more than 2 years, but Saddam Hussein is now on television every day. His latest appearance showed him chairing a cabinet meeting. The leadership stressed that Iraq was ready to repel what they called invading aggressors. In central Baghdad, normality is fading fast. Traders are trying to bomb-proof their premises. Tape for windows is now highly prized. In the last few days, stockpiling has sent prices soaring here, but soon making purchases will no longer be possible. This should be the busiest time of the day in this city, but Baghdad's shopkeepers are clearing out and closing down. These premises have provided a valuable livelihood, but one wonders if and when they will ever be open for business again. The Iraqi president is refusing to go, but ordinary people able to leave the capital are doing so, those with relatives in outlying areas and the money to reach them. Most buses have already gone from Baghdad's central depot. We witnessed the chase for one of the last ones. The most significant departure from this city today, of course, was that of the UN weapons inspectors. They headed for the airport, where their normally deadpan spokesman had this final message.
We have just to wish all the best and the best of good luck to the people of Iraq.
And then they were off for the island of Cyprus. A short hop, but 1,000,000 miles away. John Irvine for NBC News, Baghdad.
I'm joined now by veteran correspondent Peter Arnett, who was in Baghdad during the Gulf War in 1991. He's now there as a correspondent for National Geographic and for NBC News. Peter, what about the people on the streets of Baghdad? Do they realize that the deadline for Saddam Hussein and his family to get out of Dodge, so to speak, is now down to about 24 hours?
Yes, the realization came today, Tom, when word spread very rapidly about President Bush's speech. It was translated into Arabic, and many of the radio stations in adjoining countries, Iraqis were up early. They heard it. They told their relatives. There was a run on supplies of food, run on supplies of gasoline, businessmen boarding up their shops. They know what's going to happen, Tom, and they're just preparing as best they can for the action.
They have been through wars before, but they've never been occupied in Baghdad, as the president intends to do this time. Are they fully aware of the consequences of that, in your judgment?
I'm pretty sure they are not, Tom. Of course, the senior government people are. Those in middle level of government certainly are aware of it because they're much more tuned into the discourses overseas. The Iraqi people have not been privy to essentially what America intends to do. There's odd reports from, as I say, from radio stations beaming in, but whenever I have talked to the Iraqis I know, the poorer people, the ordinary business folk, and tell them that there'll be a 4-star American general in the presidential palace maybe in a few weeks, and there'll be a Marine sitting on a tank at their main intersection, they sort of don't believe it, Tom.
And what about the military preparations in Baghdad itself? Have they been stepped up in the last 24 hours?
Not visibly to us. We're basically in the center of the city, but it seems clear in the past week that there have been troop movements drawing from the outlying parts of the country closer to Baghdad and Tikrit, the home town of the President Saddam Hussein. And if you can believe what the Iraqi leadership is saying, the battle for Baghdad will be a bloody one, Tom.
Peter Arnett tonight in Baghdad. Thanks very much, Peter, and keep your head down.
Thank you, Tom. I'll do that.
Also on the NBC Nightly News Iraq Watch tonight, France, Germany, and Russia today again declared themselves against the U.S. ultimatum to Saddam. French President Jacques Chirac said, as he has before, that Iraq does not represent an immediate threat justifying an immediate war. In Rome, the Vatican said today that anyone who gives up on peace will answer to God, to his own conscience, and to history. In Denmark, a peace activist poured red paint over the prime minister to protest that government's support of the attack on Iraq. Denmark, along with Poland and Australia, has now offered military support for the campaign in Iraq. And Secretary up on peace will answer to God, to his own conscience, and to history. In Denmark, prime minister to protest that government's support of the attack on Iraq. Denmark, along with Poland and Australia, has now offered military support for the campaign in Iraq. And Secretary of State Powell in this country says that 30 governments have agreed to be named in public as supporters of the American invasion, and about 15 others, he said, are cooperating behind the scenes. Also today, thousands of terrified Iraqi Kurds, fearing reprisals by Saddam, are now fleeing to areas beyond his control. For the very latest on Iraq Watch 24 hours a day, we invite you to log on to our website, which is msnbc.com. At the White House today, there were lots of harsh words directed at Democrats on Capitol Hill, Senate Minority Leader Tom Daschle in particular. NBC's Campbell Brown joins me now from the White House for the latest on that. Campbell.
Tom, accusations today from the White House and Republicans that Democrats are being unpatriotic for criticizing a president about to take the country to war. Today, a furor over these remarks from Senate Minority Leader Tom Daschle.
And I'm saddened. Saddened that this president failed so miserably at diplomacy that we're now forced to war.
Daschle followed that statement by saying American troops in Iraq have his full support, but still a sharp rebuke from the Speaker of the House, who accused Daschle of trying to undermine the president and give comfort to adversaries, saying in this statement, quote, Senator Daschle has spent more time criticizing the leadership of President Bush than he has spent criticizing the tyranny of Saddam Hussein, and more from Republican senators.
Well, I think Senator Daschle clearly articulated the French position.
Democrats called the barrage of criticism a preemptive strike orchestrated by the White House to try to intimidate them from speaking out before war even starts.
The notion that this country is somehow too weak to have a vigorous debate, it's just nonsense. And it's, let me put it this way, we've had debates. We've had debates during past wars.
We ought to be making sure that
Democrats also say there are plenty of questions that need to be raised now, like how the president intends to pay for war, the aftermath, and a massive new tax cut.
Why can't we come out in the open and let the American people know exactly what this is going to mean in terms of the cause of the conflict? Why not include them in on this?
Publicly, the White House insisted its criticism of Democrats was not intended to rein in free speech.
It's every person's right to dissent, and nothing has been suggested here that would ever say that people don't have that right.
Privately, though, some White House officials concede this is an opportunity to take on Democrats politically, though both sides say this battle is no way about the troops now in the field. Tom?
Thanks very much. NBC's Campbell Brown at the White House tonight. On Wall Street today, a decision by the Federal Reserve to leave interest rates unchanged helped send stocks modestly higher. The Dow gained more than 52 points on the day. NASDAQ was up more than 8 points on the day to close at 1,400 even. Up next, some unsettling news in the war on terror. Documents show prominent citizens of a key U.S. ally still providing money to Osama bin Laden. We'll have an NBC News investigation. Later, one regiment, 7 fathers and 7 sons serving their country together. We hear you.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, brought to you in part by H&R Block and H&R Block Financial Advisors.
If you have acid reflux disease, in today's world, one thing is clear. When you need the news,
continuous coverage on MSNBC.com.
Count on MSNBC.com, because the news doesn't stop when you're at work. Log on first thing in the morning and stay connected throughout the day. MSNBC.com, your online source for breaking news. Tonight, as the deadline rapidly approaches, a special live Dateline. America prepares on the brink of war. Dateline tonight, 10/9 Central on NBC.
NBC News in Depth tonight, a disturbing story in the war on terrorism. New information that top businessmen in Saudi Arabia, a key U.S. ally in that part of the world, may still be helping bankroll Osama bin Laden. Here's NBC senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers now in Washington. Lisa?
Tom, with at least 10,000 U.S. troops stationed in Saudi Arabia tonight, this new information comes at an embarrassing time for the Saudi government.
Allahu Akbar.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, birthplace of bin Laden. And NBC News has learned home of 9 of 10 men the U.S. government suspects are bin Laden's biggest financial backers. Last October, this senior Treasury official took a secret list of suspected al-Qaeda moneymen to Luxembourg and Switzerland, where the wealthy Saudis have accounts, and asked that they be investigated, their assets frozen. The Europeans shared the list this week with an investigator representing victims of 9/11.
Those people are prominent bankers, representative of the 3 largest Saudi banks.
On the list, according to 2 senior U.S. officials, this man, Saudi billionaire banker Khalid bin Mahfouz, and Saudi banker Suleiman Abdul Aziz al-Raji. An internal al-Qaeda document, now in the hands of federal prosecutors and obtained by NBC News, lists top funders of bin Laden in the late 80s. Mahfouz is on it, though his name is spelled differently. Mahfouz's lawyer says he did donate $250,000 to Afghan resistance fighters back then and may have been solicited by bin Laden, but that even the U.S. supported Afghan fighters then. But lawyers for both Mahfouz and al-Raji insist they have no terrorist ties, are not under U.S. investigation, and have been cooperating with authorities. However, U.S. officials contradict that, saying both men are under investigation, though their assets have not been frozen. Joan Molinaro lost her son Carl, a firefighter, in 9/11, and is suing Saudis thought to have funded bin Laden to cut off his money.
It's like cutting off the head of a snake. If you take the head off the snake, the rest of it's going to die. And the way to stop this terrorist is to take their money.
But none of this will stop potential terrorist attacks in the next few weeks. Tonight, authorities are concerned not just about al-Qaeda cells and Iraqi sleeper agents, but about a lone wolf with a gun or a bomb.
I think one of the biggest worries is individuals who take it upon themselves to become what may be the Islamic Timothy McVeigh, undertake a major attack on their own.
And just today, the FBI sent this memo warning that al-Qaeda may be in the late stages of planning a large attack and could use cyanide to kill civilians in buildings, planes, or subways. Tom?
Thanks very much. NBC's Lisa Myers tonight in Washington. And there is more on those threatened attacks and Homeland Security when we come back, how the orange high alert is different this time.
If you're heading out there, I'll give you a tip. It's wild and it's far, and you're in for a trip. For just when you think it couldn't get rougher, the path goes crooked and the going gets tougher. But once you've traveled this far off the track, you won't settle for less, and there's no going back. The powerful Chevy Tahoe, like a rock.
This little tip is going to make a big difference for denture wearers.
It's Polygrip's Ooze.
Hi, I'm Keith Hernandez.
And I'm Walt Clyde Frazier.
What a marvelous night for the action.
Let's go to the play-by-play.
Oh, there's Mr. Graybeard approaching Miss Hottie. Oh, no.
Rejected.
Clyde, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, no play for Mr. Gray. Get that man our Just for Men Brush In Color Gel.
It's specially formulated to penetrate coarse facial hair and gets rid of gray in 5 easy minutes.
Gets rid of strikeouts, too. Just for Men Gel. The Rejuvenator.
Tomorrow, the clock is ticking. Troops good to go. And so is Matt Lauer, reporting live from Qatar. When it matters, people turn to today.
Turning now to the war on terror on the home front. The Department of Homeland Security has the nation under a higher threat level tonight. It's not the first time at orange alert. This is the third time, but as NBC's Pete Williams reports now, this time security is tighter because of the fears of a potential attack are at their highest since 9/11.
In Los Angeles tonight, police prepare to step up security at more than 500 sites considered high risk. Statewide plans to double patrols around potential targets.
I've asked the Highway Patrol to begin immediately 12-hour shifts. We will secondly double the protection at all of our vital assets.
Nationwide, officials say they're especially worried about potential high-value targets like chemical or nuclear power plants that would become weapons themselves if attacked. Homeland Security Secretary Tom Ridge urged states to deploy extra police, National Guard if need be, to protect them.
The possibility that terrorists could use that economic asset and turn it into a weapon is something that we need to be concerned about and are concerned about.
Extra worried tonight, too, about the nation's ports. More divers checking cruise ships and ferry boats before they leave, with more armed sea marshals on board them. And a big new concentration on security for ships still loading up military supplies for the Persian Gulf. In Washington, extra precautions around the White House. Pedestrian traffic is now shut off for 1 block in each direction around it. With security nationwide at its highest and most visible since 9/11, the Homeland Security Department says intelligence indicates terrorists will, not may, but will attempt multiple attacks once the war starts.
We fully expect that al-Qaeda or other extremists will try to strike at the U.S., especially with the onset of hostilities with Iraq.
Though al-Qaeda is weakened, its leadership on the run, officials say they're still worried about potential terror plans that might already be in the works. Tonight, intelligence officials say they're most worried about an attack on U.S. interests overseas. Even with all the tight security, a North Carolina tobacco farmer still managed to drive a tractor into a pond on the National Mall yesterday, claiming to have explosives. The standoff dragged into today, causing traffic chaos, a complication police don't need as they prepare to head off potential terrorist attacks. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
Coming up in a moment, a family affair, fathers and sons serving their country together.
In the future, everyone's glasses will automatically adjust to changing light and block out harmful UV rays that can damage the eyes. But for those with transitions lenses, the future is already here. Ask your eye care professional, because the danger is real now, and so is the protection. Transitions.
Now you can help manage your diabetes anytime, anywhere.
We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
How long does she have to wait for relief when she's miserable with a cold? As fast as you can open the Vapor Rub, she can begin to feel like she's breathing again. No pill or syrup can give her that. Vapor Rub, the quick Vicks.
See it build. See it transform. If you have an idea, a plan, a dream, see it with CIT.
Marie Callender began every recipe the same way, with care. And her country fried chicken was no exception. Marie served it up with mashed potatoes slowly whipped with real cream. And corn? Well, Marie thought it best eaten right off the cob. Marie Callender put her heart into everything she made. And to this day, we're still making it Marie's way. Marie Callender's country fried chicken dinner in your grocer's freezer. Made with the care of Marie.
Coming up tonight right here at 11 o'clock, local police on alert tonight with extra security at hundreds of possible terror targets. The new operation is in place. What's being done to protect you? A live report at 11. Also at 11, the threat of war means the Oscars will have a new look this weekend. What's changing? And will the show go on or not? The latest tonight at 11.
As you go through the military ranks, whatever the service, and ask the young men and women why they joined up, so many will answer, well, I was a military brat. My dad or my mom served, and it's just in my blood. Tonight, NBC's Roger O'Neill has a story of one Tennessee outfit where family has a special resonance.
So many towns have sent their troops off to war. So many citizens have carried the flag of pride and patriotism. So many families have cried the tears of goodbye. But in Chattanooga this morning, a special send-off for the Tennessee National Guard's 181st Field Artillery Regiment. It's not the weapons that make this unit unique.
Stand at.
Rather, the men.
All in, Charlie.
7 fathers and sons serving together. The Ellises, Mosiers, Wares, Kittles, Boldens, Ballingers, and Staff Sergeants Richard and Jeff Mullins.
Go ahead and check up.
Believed to be the only military unit in the country with so many fathers and sons.
My wife's worried about me and my son, and very nervous about that situation, about not knowing what we're going to really kind of walk into as far as maybe chemicals or biological, something of that nature.
Richard, who is 45 today, served in Desert Storm 12 years ago.
Check all the fluids.
His son Jeff was just in the 4th grade then.
Check the belts.
Serving together is comforting.
It's okay.
And also worrisome.
It's looking over in the heat of a battle, maybe, and you never know. You never know. Him getting killed, and me watching that.
Remember the fictional Hollywood movie Saving Private Ryan?
Your brothers were killed in combat. Which ones? All of them.
It has happened in real life. The worst, the Sullivan brothers. 5 of them, all killed on a Navy ship in World War II. Despite that, the military doesn't ban family members from serving together.
Put some gravy here.
Despite her pride, Jenna Mullins admits coping without a husband and a son will be tough.
Just pray, have faith that they will be back.
Before the Mullins men left, there was one last family job to do.
There you go. There you go.
A new trike for 2-year-old Lauren. Father and son will miss that first ride, but both promise they'll be back when they finish serving their country. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Atlanta.
That's the latest up to the moment. Some of you will be leaving us now. Others will be back for more of this special edition of NBC Nightly News.